you introduced to our EFT list, which is on our website, about Pat Ahern, the baseball player.
Yes.
Okay. How's Pat doing?
I spoke to him last night. I can't even remember the name of... See, I'm not very good on details. I can't even tell you the name of the organisation he's playing with, but he has the best earn run average in the league. And this time he's in an organisation where he has a chance of getting in the Major League because the Major League team is doing dismally and he's doing fantastically.
Yeah, if you ever want to go to, you just put Ahern, A-H-E-A-R-N-E, into the search engine on our website, and you'll see this article there, and you'll see his before and after statistics. This was done some 2 or 3 years ago, and he's improved since then, I gather.
He's actually, what happened was he was, I met him, I was working for the Perth Heat baseball team as our local professional team. He was visiting with us. I worked with him, and his earn run average went from 3.3, I think it was, to 0.87 for the rest of that season.
Which is unheard of, by the way, for those who don't know baseball. The lower the number is like golf. The lower the number, the better. But to go from 3.87 to under 1 is...
Essentially, he had a couple of games in that part of the season which were near shutouts, which means he pitched the whole game and nobody hit a run off him the whole game. And that was pretty good. Sure. He did have 1 or 2 hits, but that's about it.
Sure, yeah. Okay. Well, you are going to spend the morning on EFT and peak performance, including sports and
business.
Business, okay.
And whatever.
And I'm going to leave that to you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. It's a great privilege to be here. Thank you very much, Gary, for inviting me. And I have to acknowledge Gary. He has really given us the springboard to be able to realise our dreams. And this is part of my dream. And thank you for being part of it. I hope we can do some things together to help each other go to the next level, because that's really what it's about. And I think everyone here, doesn't matter who you are, there's a next level for you. Doesn't matter whether it's in your family, about improving the relationships in your family, or if it's in your business and you want to open up a practice or you want to improve your practice or whatever it is. If it's in sports. In fact, I'm interested just to find out who is actually, you're here so you want to do something. Who is interested in focusing on business? I thought so. Okay. I asked for people to come up yesterday, and I had 18 people come, wanted to do a one-on-one session, and I won't have time to work with all of those people, but about 10 of them had as their issue, I want to build my practice, I want to build my business. So I'm definitely going to focus on some of that. In fact, there are a lot of parallels. Who is interested in sports? Not just watching, but I mean improving. Now I need to differentiate there. Who is interested in their own personal sports performance? Okay. And who is interested in helping others with sports performance? Okay, some of the same hands. That's quite a lot of people. Excellent. So we're all going to get into peak performance work with athletes. Fantastic. Okay. Now, I'm also going to talk a little bit about building that side of the business because I know that a lot of people are interested in that. But what I want to start out doing is just giving you some of my basic ideas about this, because I think peak performance is a choice. It's a decision that you make. And it's really essential to have some of the thinking patterns and understand some of the principles about what makes people achieve and what allows people to realise whatever dreams they set. And, you know, to me, I've been getting into manifestation. This is such a wonderful thing. And this is part of that. And thank you for being part of that. So I'm going to tell you a little bit that I know. I don't know everything. Frank Farrelly said to me, those who are in second grade can help those who are in first grade, and those who are in first grade can help those who are in kindergarten. So I might be just heading into the second grade, just checking to see my report card. But hopefully there's some of you who actually that will be helpful for. So I'll share what I know and what I do. I don't think I know everything, but I do know some things and I've found them very useful. I'll talk about a few of my experiences in sports and relate those as well as in business, because I have done a lot of corporate work as well, and I've presented EFT in the corporate setting and had it work. From groups such as refinery workers through to accountants. The full range of people in different settings in corporate. From CEOs down to frontline workers. Okay? So we'll talk about that, and we'll also talk about your practice issues. Who's, by the way, this is a common one, who's got money issues? Me too. Now, still working on this, all right? But we're getting better. And so, again, I might be in about first grade there. But those of you who are in kindergarten, I might be able to share something with you, maybe help you along a little bit. And we can all help each other to go to the next level. So let me just give you a few philosophical things, if you like. I believe, as I've just mentioned, that peak performance is a choice, that you actually have to decide. By the way, can you see this? Well, then if you want to read what I'm saying, you're going to have to move now. Please do that. Please move so you can get closer. I'm sure these people at the closer tables will not mind if you come and join them, because I am going to put some things up. I need to be able, it's the only way to clarify my thinking sometimes. So if you want to see what I'm writing, I will be speaking it as well. Is that a bad spot for me to stand? I will be speaking it as well, but I'm going to write some things up here. Now, the challenge is, who has trouble deciding? First step. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I should be doing. You know, a couple of the issues that people put down on my thing were that. Maybe we can start doing this from the start and making it interactive, because what I wanted, I'm going to try and cover a whole bunch of bases. I apologise for those of you who are linear, digital, logical, sequential people who like structure. Okay, you're going to be frustrated a little in my presentation, because I'm going to try and cover a whole bunch of areas, and we're going to see how far we get, and we're going to do as much as we can in the time that we have. And I promise I'll give you my total focus on that and give you as much as I can in the time that we have available. So somebody who has that issue, maybe we can start from the beginning. Just come up to the microphone and let's hear what the challenge is here. What stops you from being able to decide? What stops you at that point when I say deciding is the issue? Oh, very good, first person on my list. Excellent. Now, I've completely forgotten your name, but I remember your face.
Well, I think one of the things is, first of all, I'm really good at EFT. I get really good results on pain.
That was a cue when I said I forgot your name.
Pat.
Pat,
I'm sorry.
thank you, Pat.
I didn't hear you say that.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I love doing corporate training. I love doing anything where I see transformational results.
Okay.
I'm an author. I love writing. So it's like, well, okay, I need to go here. I need to go here. I need, you know. And I came across this.
Oh, you've got all these areas where you want to go. You love it all.
I love it all.
Yeah. All right.
It's not like I'm doing stuff that says, oh, God, I have to do this, except straighten my desk.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, I love doing corporate training. I like selling. I have a particular assessment tool that's about emotional intelligence. It's very much about what we all do. And it's like, well, I just need to make money.
All right. Yes, it can seem like that. Yes, absolutely. You heard the thing, do what you love, the money will follow? Not necessarily.
But I'm doing what I love.
The money isn't even necessarily in the area, you know. It could be somewhere completely else. I've found in business you've actually got to have a part of you that focuses on that, absolutely. But there's got to be the part of you that focuses on the main game. And if you don't have that, if you only have the focus on the money, and that can be caused by not having enough.
You're saying if you don't have the focus on the money?
I'm saying you've got to have a part of you and part of your business that focuses on that, the manager, if you like,
Okay.
of your business, if you're going into business, okay? And this is, you know, this is the challenge. For me, going into business was a challenge. I came from a welfare background, you know, I was in a salary position, and it was like, hey, you know, I'm not used to having to worry about this side of things. I just want to help people.
Yeah.
And the challenge is if the technician, who's read the E-Myth? The E-Myth. In fact, if you're going to get that book, get the E-Myth Revisited, which is the updated version of the E-Myth, and it's by Michael Gerber, spelled G-E-R. I'm trying my best American accent. How am I doing? B-E-R. Gerber. And he says technicians go into business. There's a myth that entrepreneurs start businesses, but technicians start businesses, people who like to do the stuff, okay? The challenge is if your technician is in charge of your business, the wrong person is running it. You need to have the entrepreneur part of you, and you need to have the manager part of you, and you need to have the technicians doing the business, doing the stuff, doing the work, okay? It needs to be a balance of those. So we're going to come back to you, Pat, if that's okay, all right? Thank you very much. Just wanted to get some quick ideas now, yeah?
For me, for instance, I have been my whole life into business, and I was a very good businesswoman. And since I'm doing healing work, and this is what I love doing, and I believe in do what you do, and the money will follow. So last year I decided I'm not going to do any more interior decorating, which is what was my main source of income, and I'm going to do only classes and one-on-one healing work and coaching and stuff, and the money was not there.
Yeah.
So then, now I'm doubting. I said to myself, so what am I doing?
Not charging.
Not charging
Have you thought
enough?
about asking for money for what you do?
Yeah, not enough, no.
Yeah.
And I feel bad to ask for money.
Yes. All right. So these are some of the issues that we're going to look
Right.
at. But I'm not going to get into the treatment stuff too much at the moment. I just want to get some of the issues. Yeah?
Well, in answer to the question of what makes it hard to decide, I'm not actually trying to run a business currently, but I'm an employee. Everything seems important, so I can't ever get rid of anything. I have an office stuffed. I have a house stuffed. And it's like, how do you decide? I don't know.
How do you decide what's important?
Yeah,
this
because
is
it
a
seems
challenge,
like
isn't it?
everything is important.
Yeah, everything is important, but not as much.
Right.
People say, you change one part of the system, it'll change the rest of the system. But some parts of the system, you change them and you wouldn't notice much
Right.
effect on the system. Okay? So what's the outcome that you're after with this? What is it that you want to achieve ultimately with that? What's it going to do if you get that? I mean, what would be worth getting organised for?
Good question.
You know?
Yeah. Being
And these are-
effective.
Yeah, but being...
What is effective?
What is it? Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, there's a lot of tapping, but when you got all those conflicting things, these are conflicting values as well in yourself. And I had this for many years. I set up my business. I always wanted to do personal development programs, large scale, make a difference. And yet I found that that's what everybody wants to do. Everybody who, well, almost every. I get into National Speakers Association. It seems like everybody wants to do this. And it's like, well, who am I really to think I can do this? Look at all these guys doing that. And also, how can you get people to buy this? How can you get people to pay money for this? How can you get people to actually pay enough for you to eat? And I had a lot of things that I could do really well, so I started out just doing those. And I'm running programs of those, and I enjoyed them. I was good at them. They got results, and it felt good. But it was always my number 2. It was never my number 1. And it always felt like I'm not quite doing it. Every time I got out there in front of the group, it felt good. This is your issue too. Feels really good, but it's not your number 1. I call that 100% yes. That's when you actually, when you think about doing something, you get 100% yes. I'm not talking about, you might have fear. If fear is the only thing stopping it from being 100% yes, then it's still 100% yes. Okay? And the fear is what needs to be treated. Not knowing isn't the issue. Because if you actually deal with get rid of the fear, it's easy to find the information. The information is there. Last one, Stephen. Yeah.
Well,
Someone.
Steve, I think you know I'm a recovering investment banker.
Yeah.
And
I'm a recovering psychologist.
having spent 30 years seeing opportunities and seizing opportunities, much like Pat, what I found changed the evolution of my career to wanting to work with people. I see so many opportunities, and yet they all look great. And I'm still in the struggle of which ones should I follow that will produce the necessary return. I look at the return. I'm bottom line oriented, but I'll tell you the bottom line seems like a vacuum many times. And in my own business, the challenge I'm having is to stay focused on things that I, in my heart, believe in.
Yeah.
But they're not producing the thing that pays the rent and keeps me in one of my habits.
Well, that may be a
which is
block in your belief about whether that's possible to have those two together.
okay. But that impairs my decision-making process.
Yeah, because you think if I follow my heart, I can't eat
Yeah.
and I can't provide or whatever.
And I seem to have proof of that.
Yes. Well, you don't seem to. You actually do.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is real proof in your experience and in the world. Yes, absolutely. And there are all these false associations that are created. So it's like everybody's trying to tell us, this is success. Come here, have this, do this. This is going to give you the feelings that you want. And they're tugging you and pulling you all sort of directions. And we really have to treat that because it's a Wizard of Oz. It really is. We're from Oz, but I think that the greatest Wizard of Oz, it really is an American story, isn't it? It really is the American thing of we'll paint the picture like this and then you'll all, come and do it, but behind the thing there's just, never mind the man behind the curtain. I love that movie, It's like metaphor for existence, isn't it? So, it's one way you can start is to get all your options and say, I really want to do this, and tap on I really want to do this, and then tap on another one, I really want to do this. Because some of that wanting is actually an anxious wanting as well.
Oh, very definitely.
Yeah.
Very definitely. It sort of sees the opportunity of the moment because that's going to make a buck. That's going to turn a buck. And I mean, that's how I spent my entire career.
Well, maybe
So
that's number 1.
Well, but I don't get the same juice. I don't get the same satisfaction level sometimes.
Well, you can have juice and poverty, or you can have no juice and riches. That's the only choice you got, Stephen.
Yeah. And let me tell you, that's the dilemma.
You got it.
That's the dilemma.
Yeah. All right. Well, now you can just work on those. I'll talk a bit about how you treat those belief systems and stuff like that, and hopefully get into it. And I'm going to leave it up to you to do some work on this. I've promised Gary we won't be doing whole group tapping too much today. We need to give you a bit of a rest on that. But I will actually get some people up to the microphones and do some tapping with them. See what happens. Okay. If you particularly want to tap on that issue, go ahead. Okay.
Super. Thanks,
All right.
Steve.
Let me just continue here. I start and then get distracted. So I want to give you just a little bit of a picture. When I was 17 years old, I was majoring in socialising, having a good time, avoiding work, going out with my friends, and we really did. We were like anti-study. And if you were caught studying in our group, or anybody thought that you had actually done some work, you were just ostracised. So this was all very good until the results started to stack up against me. And we have a tertiary entrance examinations. They were called the tertiary admissions examinations at that time, and it was based on the entire 2 years' work. You do these exams. And then you have this mock one just beforehand, which is a practice. And it was about 10 weeks before, and I comprehensively failed. And that was probably the first time I started to think this may not be working. So I remember actually, what do they call wagging school over here when you truant? Okay, I'm truanting one day. We're lining up outside a concert venue for tickets to a group named Kiss. And I didn't actually like the band. I was just going with my friends, And well, the truth be known, I never went to the movie. I became a scalper and sold the tickets because I needed the money so much. Okay. Anyway, for some reason there ended up being a teacher in that group in the afternoon. Someone had saved a place for him, and he was standing next to us, and we were talking to him, my friend and I, about our situation, which was pretty similar. And at one point he turned around to me. He said, "Gee, that's a real shame." He said, "You'll never recover." And even then, I'm 17 years old, I'm thinking, this guy's a real motivator. And but I thought, how could you be a teacher and have such, I could see he had a limited view. I knew my life wasn't over. I knew that was ridiculous. But part of me, of course, was believing this. So anyway, I'm thinking, I want to prove you wrong, you so-and-so. But I didn't know how to do that. I was so far down the toilet that I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm going to try and keep my language. We come from convict stock, so I have to apologise. And I spent a lot of time working with emotionally disturbing children whose language is quite distorted. And so I've been a little bit desensitised to it, so I'll try and keep my mouth, above the gutter for you. But anyway, what the hell was I talking about? Okay, the teacher. So anyway, I was actually quite depressed, I think, at the time. But I remember lying on the lounge in the lounge room one day and just thinking, what the hell am I going to do, And my dad had lots of books, and in the bookshelf I saw this book, Spine. Yes, thank you. I need help with the language. And I picked it up and just started reading this book. And all of a sudden, it was like my eyes opened. That book was called Think and Grow Rich. Who's read that book? Isn't that? Wow, you're above average, this group. Wow, look at the numbers. Isn't that incredible? Well, that was a defining moment for me because all of a sudden I could see that this wasn't just something you had to make up as you go along. That this is actually, that there is a formula that you can follow if you want to that will work. That's, the road has been paved for you. And for those of you who don't know, Napoleon Hill basically was, he met Andrew Carnegie, who was a multi-millionaire in the steel industry in this country. And Andrew Carnegie said, look, I know what's made me successful. I think it should be taught in schools. I want to tell you my philosophy of success, and I want you to go and I'll give you letters of introduction to the top achievers in this country, and you can go around and learn from them and put that into a program and, get it out there. And he said, if you'd like to do that, I'm happy to give you those letters of introduction. I'm not going to pay you anything, but I think it'll take about 20 years of your life. So Napoleon Hill said, yeah, I'll do that. And he did that. And the sum of that was actually a 16-volume set called Law of Success. And he got to meet people like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Roosevelt, I can't remember all the names, Woolworth, Frank Woolworth, all the major achievers of the time in a variety of areas. And he was able to summarise their strategies and their philosophy into a basic formula of 16 major elements, which he put into the law of success. And then he summarised that into Think and Grow Rich. And I read that when I was 17, and it changed my whole life. I thought, okay, I've got nothing to lose. I got 10 weeks, and it should be impossible for me to turn this around. And I have to tell you, the moment that you actually make that commitment, that's when everything happens. That's when everything changes. That's when the impossible becomes possible. Now, the challenge that we all have is getting to the point of taking that committed step where you say, okay, that's what I'm going to do. We're talking about Pat Ahern. I met with Pat in my office. Actually, I met him on the baseball field. I helped him with a couple of challenges he had in his game. Instantly, he got very interested. Okay? If you're going to work with sports people, you'll always find a part of their game that is their biggest problem area. You do a little bit of work with that, then they get some relief. They want to know, hey, give me some more of that. I think I want to do that. And I was asked this question once we get beyond that first step. Where do you want to go ultimately? What do you want to do with this ultimately? And he was almost embarrassed. He said, well, I'd really like to see if I can get up to the major league. And I said, all right. Why don't you decide to do that? And he did. And it's a challenge because is he going to do that? Is he going to achieve that? Does he know for 100% that he's going to be in the major leagues in this country? No. The challenge is he's actually made that decision and he said, okay, I'm not going to live my life, get to the end of my life and then think, what would have happened if I'd went for it? What would have happened if that thing that I had in my heart that was just tugging at me saying, come on, what about this? What about that? What if I didn't go for it? And the challenge is that you've actually got to make your decision to do it before you know how you're going to get there. And that's what stops all sorts of people. The little thing called doubt. And I actually think this is what EFT is ideal for dealing with. Okay, we've got doubts and fears, and actually a lot of the fears are not just fear of failure, they're fear of success. And I reckon a large chunk of my work is actually dealing with fear of success. People think about being in the success state and they just can't. It just feels foreign to them. It just doesn't feel right. And that's what you've got to treat. So you've actually got to get to the point where being in the major leagues feels comfortable. Pat's actually achieved that. There's no real need in the material world for him to go any further with where he's gone. He knows what he is. Okay? Now, it would be really nice to have the cream on the cake for that, to be realised. And, hey, you keep applying the things as Gary was saying. Does it lead you in directions? Yeah, of course it does. Okay? And I believe it's going to work for him. And in fact, he has one of the top pitching gurus in the country. And he's gone through a very big struggle. This is one of the challenges with peak performance. People see the overnight success and they don't see all the preparation and the planning and the struggle and the ups and the downs. And he got into an organisation where he performed really well, and they actually wrote an article in the paper that said any other year, any other organisation, he would have been in the major league that year. So he's gone through that. He's gone through being the king of what's the word? He called himself something like the king of denied opportunity. Who's got that one? Who knows about that? Yeah, sure. Okay? And this is the challenge. If you've failed before, if you've had, pain before, there can be a challenge about moving forward. Okay, let's move on here. Let me just give you another couple of parts of this picture. I believe the decision point is actually to do with addressing the doubts and fears. And you've got to use some techniques to do that, and the best technique that I know is using EFT, okay? Until you address all this, and if another word for that, another term for that is limiting views of what's possible for you or your business. You have to break through the barriers about what you think is possible for you or your business. And that's where you need to apply EFT to your ideas about what you can and cannot do. Okay? Man, It's in the handout, yes, thank you very much. Okay. Step 2 in the handout. Thank you. Let me get the handout and I can read it out to you, because once I've said it, it's gone, okay? I tell my clients, you don't have to worry about confidentiality with me. As soon as... This is not the spot. How's that? Very good. Now, I'm going to read you the handout that you have. Step 2 to peak performance, break through the barriers. Overcome your limiting ways of thinking about what's possible for you or your business. Now, this could be an entire seminar on its own, okay? Because this is really the issue. And when I start to get into my process, I'm going to give you some techniques for dealing with those belief challenges. By the way, I only have a couple of colours. Those of you who are very visual and want the coloured pens, I can't do that today. All right, so you're just going to have to imagine this is purple, okay? Beliefs, okay? Now, then you can go do your goal setting, because until you've done some work on your own blocks and barriers about what's possible, you shouldn't really be setting your goals, because you're only going to set your goals based on your limited box about what you think is possible. So you need to treat yourself for what you think is possible for you first, okay? To realise that you can actually open up and achieve your goals. You can actually do this. See, there's the limits that you have about what you think is possible for you. I think an even huger limit in the whole world is that we think we have to limit ourselves to what other people have done. And that's just going to leave us with the is, okay? And really we want to realise much more than that. So there's all sorts of boxes within boxes that you need to get through before you get to setting your goals. And I'm always interested, as I say, in what are your ultimate goals? Where do you want to go ultimately with this? You know, when I ask that, sometimes I'm the first person that's asked that. Asked that. Not ask, sounds like something else. The first person that asks that sometimes, okay? And people haven't actually, they're running, it's like, who said you go to sleep and you wake up 40? I think it was Dennis Waitley. Isn't that the way it happens? And it all just happens. And then at some point you realise, hey, I can consciously create this. And this is a moment to do that. This is what we're here for today, to take a moment to look at conscious creation. Because we're being driven by all sorts of unconscious desires and stuff that's programmed in and so on, and we really can start to take control of that. Yeah.
As far as setting goals, because I think that probably everybody in this room has read many personal development books, so on and so forth, but I think it's easier said than done. So I'm another one of those people too. It's like a big picture, but in order to hone in, I find very challenging.
Yeah.
You know, so how do you go, do you have a methodology for treating that?
Yes, I do. And my aim is actually to show you some of the stuff about treating beliefs, and then we'll actually go through a process of manifestation goal setting. We won't be able to do the entire workshop that I do in our seminars, but I'm actually going to give you a bit of an overview of that if we have time, as much as possible. And I think the issue, and there's a number of issues. There's internal civil war, conflicting values, conflicting beliefs that we need to get through. But I used to do a goal-setting thing with some friends of mine. We'd get together every year, and we get together at the start of the year, the end of the year, and we'd check up on our goals. And they were into these incredible. They mapped their goals out, and they had these charts, and they had timelines, and they had, this leads to this, and it's like, wow. I've just got a list. And then we get together at the end of the year, and I would think, how come I've achieved 95% of the goals I set and they've achieved maybe 15%? And then I thought the reason why is because just about all of my goals are things that I really want to do now. I don't set goals for things that I don't want to do anymore. I've done that a lot in the past, and it's like, why isn't this working? Well, that wasn't what I thought I wanted to do that, but I didn't really want to do that. Okay? If you've got something that you're unsure whether you really want to do it, do some tapping on really wanting to do it, and do some tapping on the other side of not wanting to do it. Part of you wants to do it and part of you doesn't. And when you do tapping on the objection, you'll start to find out what the issues really are. And that might be very informative, because it might be saying, no, don't climb that ladder, it's against the wrong wall. Wall. Okay, now, we're going to move on here. I've mentioned, I'm actually ahead of myself because I actually believe there's no such thing as goal setting without clarifying your values. If you're not really clear on what's most important to you, then you may end up thinking that something's going to give you what you want and it doesn't. A few years ago, we wanted to extend our house. I thought it was important for my family. I set a goal to double my income. I actually exceeded that goal. And I also more than doubled my workload. And I'm thinking, wow, here I am. I've done all this. We've got the money for the extension. This is great, but I'm not home. I'm not there. And that's my number one. You know, I really want to make a difference. I want to be out in the world making a difference. But I know now that if I'm doing that and I'm not being there for my family, then it's just a waste of time. It's not going to give me what I want ultimately. And so I had to actually come to the point where I realized, you know, I've got to allow the space and the time for both of these. Is there a way to do this? Yes, because, you know, the people who earn 10 times more than you work 10 times as much as you. It's not possible. So they must be doing something else. They must have another way for that to happen. So we now get to the point where I have some specific limits about how much travel I'm going to do, how much time I'm going to be away from my family, and everything has to fit into that. Okay? When we come away internationally, I have a 2-week window. We do 3 international trips a year. That works for me. If I go away from my family for more than 14 days, I know everything falls to pieces for me and for them. After about 8 or 9 days, I start to feel like I want to go home. You know, so that's it, and that works for me. And so then now I have to think, how can I actually leverage what I do? And now we have more places offered to us than we can possibly go to, and that's a great problem to have because now we can focus on what's going to be the best stuff to do. Back then, what I did was I said, okay, I want to get the same income as I had last year, and I want to work 75% of what I worked last year. And that was what happened at that time. Okay. Now, we've gone through different, you know, everything goes through stages. You've got to clarify what's important to you. Have you asked yourself, what's most important to me in my life? Just reflect on that for a moment. What is most important to you in your life? Maybe you want to ask yourself how much time you spent on that yesterday. That's like, well, we were here. How could I spend some time on it? But how much time did you spend on it the week before? How much money did you spend on this? How much of whatever resources you have to put into something did you put into what's most important? Because if you say it's important and then you do it's not important, it isn't really important to you. Several years ago, I went to a personal development seminar. It was a fantastic seminar, but I was sick when I went. And during the seminar, I clarified that one of my highest values was health. What a joke. During the seminar, I collapsed. And I came home. It took me several weeks to recuperate. And I realized the real seminar was what I was doing to my own health. Pushing, forcing it. So I've learned a little bit about that. You know, I try not to get into that now. Mark Victor Hansen says, failure to live your values is not a setback, it's a real failure. You know? Mark Victor Hansen, isn't he a great guy? Who knows Mark Victor Hansen of Chicken Soup for the Soul fame, you know, with Jack Canfield? These guys took their original idea to 33 publishers, were rejected by them. Each one of those 33 publishers has committed suicide since. Because I don't know exactly the figures, but a couple of years ago I heard they had 165 million books in print. I read he was talking about his goals, and I read a transcript of this. He said, our plan is to have 1 billion books in print. And you read it, I thought, how many people read books in the world? There's 6.8 billion people in the world. It's like, not many of them can afford books. So some people have got to buy a lot of books for you to have 1 billion books in print. But once you got to 165 million, wouldn't you think that was achievable? The challenge is they set that goal well before then. He said they laughed at us when we said we were going to sell 10 million. I think it was something like once we got to 40 million, we thought we might as well go for it. By the way, I've read that Stephen King has 1 billion books in print. Isn't that interesting? So is it possible? Of course it's possible, you know. Challenge is it what you really want to do? Is this going to lead you to where you really want to be? Okay, number 5, the P word. You have to plan. I don't know who said it. They said, spectacular achievement is always preceded by unspectacular preparation. Sorry to break it to you. Napoleon Hill said all those years ago when I was reading his stuff, he had a 6-step process, absolutely wonderful process. And, not just that, very much a focus on money. At that time, that was the way to be an achiever. But Thomas Edison read this formula. He said, this is a formula to be a successful inventor, not just, someone who makes a lot of money. And Mahatma Gandhi imported 80,000 copies of that book into India because he knew that philosophy was essential for his people. So he wanted to get it to key people. And what he said was his formula, his process is, number 1, you've got to decide exactly what it is that you want. Number 2, decide when it is that you're going to have this. Well, actually, number 2 was not decide when. Number 2 was decide what you're going to give in return for it. What are you going to give in return for this? Number 3 was set a definite date. Number 4 was develop a definite plan, even though you don't even know what you're going to do. And here's the problem. You don't even know what's going to take you there when you start out. How am I going to get there? Not knowing how is actually what stops a whole lot of people. I have to tell you that it wasn't too many years ago. This is my 8th trip to America. And I love America. It's really wonderful. I love going home from America, but I love being here. And I love the country. I love the people. I love the friendliness and the engagement. And but back when I first started with this, I had actually never been outside of Australia. And I had my first real job. And I got my first tax return. It's a few $100s. And I went to my wife and I said, I want to go to America. And she said, great. And then she thought about it a while and she came back to me and she said, we can't go up to America next year when you want to go. She said, I've worked it out. Here's how much money we have. Here's how much money we need. And here's where we are, and here's where you want to go. And if we save everything we can possibly save over the next year, we're going to have this much. So I've worked out that we could probably afford to go in about 3 years. And I said, no, we're going to go next year. Because this bit here that we don't know how is what we're going to have to work out. Now that bit there is what stops most people. That's what stops them. That's why they don't go ahead. So you have this idea, and I'm saying you have this idea, I'm projecting. I had this idea as well, that these people who achieve actually, they've got this belief. Well, the belief wasn't there for a lot of them at the start. It was just an idea. It was just a thing of like, well, that would be good, wouldn't it? Wow, wouldn't that be great? Don't know if I can. At some point, though, they decided to go for it. I read a quote by a guy that was interviewing Muhammad Ali when he was Cassius Clay. Who remembers? Who's old enough to remember? Very good. And he's going to do his defining fight of his career at that point. He's going to meet Sonny Liston. And this guy's interviewing him. He says, it's Mort Sharnik, I think it is. He says, Muhammad, I want you to tell me about, Sonny Liston. And Muhammad starts on his thing. He's like, that old bear, rah, rah, just, how he did, lots of lip. And this guy says, no, forget that. Just tell me the truth. What do you really think? And apparently Cassius got a little bit subdued. And he said, well, to tell you the truth, I feel a bit how Columbus must have felt. I think the world is round, but when I get out there, I'm going to find out it is or I'm going to fall off. I think I can beat this guy, but when I get in the ring, I'm going to find out. I read that and I think, wow, that was so helpful to me. The guy who was the greatest sportsman of all time. By the way, he said it before it happened, didn't he? And he said it, in Australia, they hate people shooting off their mouth. So we were sitting there in our lounge rooms, and this guy's going, I'm the greatest. And we're like, shut up. Hope you get your, Did he? No, he was able to walk the talk. He was able to follow through. But at the beginning, he didn't know he was going to be able to for sure. he was able to get himself up to perform, even though he didn't know for sure that that was going to happen. Now, the great power that we have is that we have access to these wonderful tools to deal with the problems of doubt. And you want to apply EFT to that. EFT gets applied very often to remedial stuff. Fix this, fix that problem. And the challenge is we need to start applying it, I believe, some of the time to creation, to building a sort of world that we want to live in. What would be good to have? What would be great to create? What if we could do this? What if we could do that? That sort of stuff is what I'm interested in. But you've got to plan. And who has problems with planning? Me too. Me too. It's an ongoing work. The next step is actually the commitment step. Now, these aren't discrete categories, but at some point you've got to commit and say, I will do this. I will do this. A lot of people say, I've got this goal, but it isn't really a goal, it's just a wish. And you've got to progress through stages of commitment. I'm going to give an exercise with this later on, of working on your own commitment. But the key of all of this is getting yourself into action. The great power is available to people who can get themselves to do things. The difference between you and anyone who's ahead of you in any area, anybody who's achieving what you want to achieve, whatever that is really just action. The challenge is we don't want to do it if we aren't going to do it well. We don't want to take the step where we might do it wrong. And I wish I could remember who told me this. They said, if it's worth doing badly. Because everything you do well, you did badly. And EFT, you can treat yourself for having to do badly so that you can do well. Okay? That's the key. That's where the rubber hits the road. And my hope today is that you'll actually do something with what we do. We'll start the working part of this after the break, which we're going to go to now. We're going to have 15 minutes, and I've been told by Gary that I need to be precise. So my watch says it is 10 to 10. We will come back at 5 after. Who was it that said that thing about Bob Hope? Would you come up to the microphone? Who was it that just said something to me about Bob? Would you come up to the microphone? I want to hear that again.
I said to Steve, Bob Hope on the show that they were honoring him, said, you can tell as you get older, first you forget the name, then you forget the face, then you forget to zip down, and last you forget to zip up, and then you forget to zip down. I screwed it up.
Thank you. I'm still getting that bit right, so I'm still okay. She said it's age, but I've done that all my life. Goodness me. Anyone who runs those memory programs, you could come to me. Right, now I want to get into some work. The last point I want to make here is I want to give you an overview of my process for working with sports people. I already mentioned the first step is actually to deal with current challenges. The second step is to go from there. Well, actually, this isn't discrete, but the next step is actually to go to working on ultimate goals. Then you're going to deal with beliefs and value challenges. Top of the tree is issues of identity. If you're talking about a sporting team, they have this as well. When I first went to work with the Perth Heat baseball team, I hadn't worked with a professional sporting team. And I managed to get this meeting. In fact, I was running around doing work with a transport company, and I happened to find out that one of these guys was a director on this team. So I said to him, what do you guys do in your peak performance work? He said, I just don't think we do enough of that stuff. I said, well, I just happen to have been getting into that recently. So he invited me along, and I went to a meeting with the key people in the organisation. And I said, well, what's the challenge? And they said, well, we are the winningest team in the league. We win more games than any other team. But we get to the finals and we choke. In 40 minutes, I know that's how long it was because I looked at my watch, I heard 3 separate people make the statement, we can win all the games in the regular season, but we always choke in the finals. So I said, stop, I've diagnosed the problem. You guys say, we always choke in the finals. What do you think is going to happen this year? Okay. Now, this is belief system, right? And there's a very pervasive belief system in that organisation. So first thing I said was, Yeah, did you choke last year? Yeah, they've been 6 years. They got in the final 6 years in a row and choked. So I said, the fact is, yes, you did that. But that was last year's team. That was a different team. This is a new team, and this year you're going to do something different. This year you're going to set your goal to win the championship. And they did, and they won the championship that year. Now, did they have a challenging period just prior to the finals? Absolutely they did. And that's the time when you bring out all your gear and you work with them. You've got to bring out all their fears, bring out all their issues, all their stuff, and treat it. Because they actually got there, they were winning all the games. Then just before the finals, they started to lose a few. So we ran a session with the whole team, and I put all of the fears up, and we dealt with them. Because the fears have to be out there to be dealt with. I really, truly believe. So, beliefs and values and identity. There's always moving to the next level. You can get everything great, but then when you go up another level, there'll be another level of stress. And a lot of the old stuff will come up again when you move to that next level. So taking them to the next level involves using skills like visualization and so on to get them to feel comfortable there. And you can use EFT to get them to feel comfortable being there in their mind, feeling it and seeing it and believing it. Okay? I didn't finish Napoleon Hill's 6 steps for those of you who are diligently writing it down. He said, you've got to decide exactly what you want. You've got to decide what you're going to give in return for it. You've got to decide a definite date by when you're going to do this. You've got to make up a plan and start right away, ready or not. You've got to write out a statement that says exactly what you're going to do, exactly when you're going to do it by, and what your plan is, and sign it and commit to it. And then, and this is key, and this hasn't been superseded in all the years since that's been written, every day check in and imagine yourself already there, already having it, already doing it, already being it. Now, that's a real challenge. When I started working with Pat, he couldn't imagine himself playing Major League, and if he did, the picture was unclear or he got really tense or whatever. Now he knows he is a Major League player. And the external world just has to do what it has to do. They haven't caught up with him yet. That's the absolute truth of the matter. Okay? Now the other thing that I end up working with most athletes, if I work with them long enough, is relationships. Because there's always somebody that their performance is important to, somebody that who is counting on them to perform so they can eat, or something like that, somebody who's funding them, who's invested in them, someone who they want to make proud, whatever it is dealing with that stuff. Okay? So that's the basic format. Now, I'm not going to get into any more of that because I've talked enough. It's time to actually do some work. So I want to get some of my people up, and my plan is, because we have a bunch of people, I want to do a little bit with a lot of people as much as I can, and hopefully open up some stuff for them. I'm not going to leave them neatly wrapped up in a nice box as Gary has done with some of the people he's worked with, because he's allowed enough time. My intention is actually to give them some stuff to go and work on for themselves. Because when I get stuck on an issue for myself, eventually, after persistence doesn't work and all the stuff I know doesn't work, I consult with somebody, and I only need one session with them to help me to work on the other stuff, because I can't see it because it's unconscious to me. It's unconscious blocking beliefs. Okay? So we're going to do some work on beliefs. And Gary talks about beliefs being like a tabletop with legs. And there might be some very big legs. These are significant emotional experiences. This is just an idea. Now, some of the people on my list, let me see. Pat, why don't you get back up? Lisa, why don't you come up? And Mary. These are people who came to me. Why don't you grab yourselves a microphone each? And Lisa, Eric, Mary, Surfati, that's you. Okay. All right. Now, we'll just deal with belief that you're already conscious of. If we were working together, I could dig down for some of your unconscious beliefs. But what is a belief associated with building your practice that you know is holding you back?
I'm not good enough, or...
Very good. That'll do.
Okay.
Very common. I'm not good enough. I need to go to another 100 seminars, or I need to do another, 10 years training, or I need to...
Right.
All this stuff. Okay? Now, that's just an idea. That idea is actually floating around in the myriad of ideas. We're surrounded by them. But somehow you've got a connection to that idea. And that connection has happened through some events, some experiences. How do you know you're not good enough?
Actually, I know I'm good, but when sometimes they say, oh, you have no degrees, you have
There
no
it is.
letters behind
Okay.
your name.
All right. So you see the society and you know, you see people getting degrees and you see
Right.
people saying that's important, or you hear that and so on, etc. And so this idea may actually relate to some other ideas like I'm not smart enough.
Yes.
Okay? See, these things are not actually on their own. By the way, I don't see them as table. This model came from Robert Cialdini. He wrote a book called Influence. It's a great model. He says you knock out the legs and the top falls down. I actually see these things as having roots. Okay? And some of these things are really root things to us. Okay? So we're totally rooted in the Australian sense. Okay? And some of them are bigger than others, and if you actually deal with that, then this idea will just go back into the field of ideas. It's no longer you. You have made it you, okay? So it's just an idea, but at the moment it's connected to you by these things. There's probably some more.
Sure.
We could search for early experiences where you learn you're not good enough, but I want to say that's connected to another idea, I'm not smart enough, which may be stronger.
I don't have that one.
Oh, really?
I know I'm very smart.
Oh, really? Okay, try this. Rub the sore spot. I like rubbing the sore spot, by the way. We do this fairly consistently. You don't all do this necessarily, naughty, okay, because we don't want you to be tapped out. Very, very important. So you just say, even though I know I am smart enough,
Even though I'm smart enough,
don't you please, you just do it silently, because otherwise I'll get in trouble off Gary.
do I do it silently too?
No, you do it out loud.
Oh, okay.
Because we're doing it. Okay?
All right.
So even though I know I am smart enough,
Even though I know I'm smart
and that's
enough,
really not the issue.
that is not really the issue.
What is the issue?
What is the issue? I'm looking for it.
Well, I think the smart one is the issue. So I'm going to actually guess at this. And now our style is actually to what Gary calls it testing, we call it provoking. Okay?
Actually, I found something.
No, I'm sticking with what I like. Okay? So rub this.
I just got
No,
something.
I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
I'm running this. Rub this spot. So even though I'm too dumb to build my practice,
Even though I'm too dumb to build my practice,
and I haven't got any real credentials,
I don't have any credential,
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
Even though I'm too dumb,
Even although I'm too dumb,
I'm not smart enough,
I'm not smart enough,
and only smart people can succeed at this,
and only smart people can succeed at this.
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
Happy to say I'm too dumb.
Too dumb.
No, you follow me.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I'm sorry.
And start doing it yourself.
Okay.
Okay, you've got to follow the smart people. Tap here. If you can't even follow a direction, what chance have you got? Say, I'm too dumb.
I'm too dumb.
Say, that's not true.
That's not true.
Well, what is true?
What is true?
If you're smart enough,
I'm smart enough.
or you're not enough of something, I figure you aren't
What-
smart enough.
What I realized,
Only the smart people can succeed in business,
only smart people can succeed in business,
and I'm not one of them.
and I'm not one of them.
Take a deep breath. Now, you were going to say there was some other side issue that might have
I get discouraged
discouraged. By what?
when I don't get, I get discouraged easily.
Okay, you're sort of impatient.
Exactly,
All right.
impatient.
All right, rub this spot. So even though I'm too impatient,
Even though I'm too impatient.
I want the results now,
I want the results now.
and I want it immediately.
I want them
I want
immediately.
it effortlessly and yesterday.
I want them effortlessly and yesterday.
I accept myself.
I accept
Come on, let's
myself.
go a bit faster. Got to go faster. Got to
Gotta
get
go
there
fast.
quicker. Hurry up, keep up.
Hurry
with me.
up, hurry up.
Come on, we've
Come
got
on,
to go.
come on.
I want you to be transformed in an instant.
I want to be transformed in an instant.
We can't wait around.
Can't work around.
And if this doesn't work,
And if that doesn't work,
you'll be discouraged, won't you?
be discouraged, yeah.
Take a deep breath. Well, I'm just going to let you sit with that for a while.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Pat.
Thank you.
Don't say thank you, we haven't done anything yet.
I just realized that sometimes I'm embarrassed by wealth. What came up for me was my grandparents were extremely
Embarrassed
wealthy.
by you having it or other people having it?
Well, I grew up in this big, huge house, but there was always this energy of struggle, and it was like I kept feeling like we don't really deserve to have this house. And my
No.
grandparents were really rich,
No.
and
Why
when I
didn't you
stayed with
deserve
them-
to have the house?
Well, because it was a huge house. It was really big.
It was too big for you.
Well, no, my father. Well, and that's come up with me as an adult. People that I date. Well, why do you live in such a big house? And
All
it's
right,
not
rub
that
this sore
big.
spot. So even though I really deserve to live in a hovel,
Even though I really deserve to live in a hovel. Whew,
not a big house,
not a big house.
because only really important people live in big houses,
Because only really important people live in big houses.
I accept myself.
I accept
And
myself.
even though I'm not a really important person,
Even though I'm not a really important
I'm just
person,
a small person,
I'm just a small person.
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
I'm too little for big houses,
I'm too little for big houses.
and I don't deserve them anyway.
I don't deserve it anyway.
Deservingness is a very common issue.
Yeah, mine's
Okay?
deserving.
I don't deserve this. Tap here, I don't deserve this.
I don't deserve this.
I haven't earned it.
I can't quite hear him. Could you turn him up a little bit? What was that
I
last one?
haven't earned it.
I haven't earned it.
What do you got to do?
Hmm?
What do you got to do to earn it?
I don't know. Boy, did you find it though. Whew.
Well, which bit? I was just poking around. By the way that we work, David and myself, we call this provocative energy techniques. Essentially, we're just fishing around in the area and throwing up possible negative beliefs, and the one that emotionally hits, you run it up the flagpole, you emotionally salute it, that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, is it the little girl one? Is it that I don't deserve it one? Is it the... What is it?
I kind of think they're tied together.
Little and don't deserve it, because only big people can...
My little girl doesn't
They
think
have
she
big
deserves
houses
it.
for big people, like Gulliver's Travels. Is that the story where...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just have to check, my memory.
No, it's not little in size. It's I think I don't deserve it.
All right.
It's deserving has shown up a lot for me.
Yeah,
but-
okay, all right. Well, you've got to do something to deserve this. And there's a truth there. You actually have to provide value. And the reality is a lot of people think that they can just have something for nothing. It's like, well, the manifestation of this is actually provide value so people give you something.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I do provide a lot of value.
All right, but not enough.
Yeah. Okay.
And your best you've got's not enough. Tap here.
Yeah.
So the best I
Not
have is not
enough
enough.
has always been huge for me.
Yeah.
Not enough
Say,
anyway.
I'm not enough.
I'm not enough. I don't have enough time.
Don't.
I'm
Go
not
ahead.
enough.
Gary's much more giving and forgiving of this, than me. You're going to do it my way.
Got to do it your way.
I don't have enough.
I'm not enough.
I don't have enough.
I don't have enough.
By the way, a lot of people would say, even though you believe that you don't have enough, or even though you feel that you are not enough, we don't do that. We go to the strongest thought, which is the one that's in her head, which is, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve this, all those things. Now, is that true? No, that's a bunch of BS, okay? Belief systems, all right? And that's just her belief system. But for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to accept the reality of that in her world. And it's very important for me to see that that's just a bunch of BS. Okay, it's just the lie that she's running on. We're all running on a bunch of lies. It's all illusion. The whole thing is. Okay? But this particular one works in this particular way. Okay? So I'm not good enough.
I'm not good enough.
I am not enough.
I am not enough.
I haven't done enough
I haven't done enough
to earn this.
to earn this.
What do you got to do?
Write my second book.
And?
Work with more corporations.
here. And?
See more people in charge and figure out how to market.
And then at which point do you get to feel happy? I'm just wondering.
At which point do I get to feel happy?
Or successful?
When I have enough money to pay my mortgage.
Okay. Well, but
that
how
I've
well?
created. When I have enough money to pay my mortgage, that when I have created the money.
Okay. And have you got a nice number there for me? Can you tell me how much that is? Because then when you get that, we know that you'll be happy and we can feel good for you.
I want to make $150,000 a year.
Okay. I want to make $150,000 a year.
I actually want to make $200,000 a year, but that sounded greedy.
It is greedy.
Good. Can I be greedy?
No.
I live in San Diego. It's so expensive there.
No, you get to have maybe 100,000. Even I only say maybe 100,000 because it's only a want, it's not a goal.
Say
You
that
never
again?
made it a goal. You just said that's what you want.
Okay.
Okay? So I heard you said, I want to make $100,000. True.
No, I said 150 first, and then I changed it to 200.
Did she?
Yeah.
Well, I heard 100. I figured that 150 was too much for you. How much are you really worth?
About
Limitless.
250.
I have the limitless, boundless worth of...
About 250 if I could get
You're
over
worth
the
about
not enough.
250 if you
Yeah.
could what?
I said if I could get over my not enough stuff.
Ah, my gosh. So you really want 250, but you're going to settle for less than 100.
No. I have been settling for less than 100.
Correct. Okay. What I'm saying is you continue to do that until you decide to make it different.
Okay.
Okay, and part of you believes I can't make it different. The other part of you believes I don't, deserve to make it different. Maybe part of you also doesn't think it's good for people to have that money.
Say that again, please.
Maybe part of you doesn't believe it's good for people to have that much money.
My father was very critical of rich people,
Exactly. Rub the sore
and my
spot.
mother was very rich.
Okay, rub this sore spot. So even though my mother was a rich bitch,
Even though my mother was a rich bitch,
and my father had it all,
and my father had it all.
he knew what was really important.
He knew what was, oh God.
He was just forced
He
to
knew
go
what was
along
really
with the
important.
program.
He what?
He was just forced to go along with the program.
He was just forced to go along with the program.
I hear my own rubbing. Should I rub the other way? Tap here. Say, greed is bad,
Greed is bad.
so I'm bad.
I'm bad.
Because I'm greedy, just like my
Because
mum.
I'm greedy, just like my mom.
Are you ashamed of yourself?
Oh, yeah, I'm ashamed of myself.
You should be able to settle for less, you know.
Say it again.
You should be able to settle for less.
I should be able to settle for less. Oh God, you just really hit something.
Man, there's a lot of things to hit. It's just like shooting fish in a barrel with you.
I should be able to settle for less.
Money isn't important.
Money isn't important.
I shouldn't be so caught up in wanting it.
I shouldn't be so caught up in wanting it.
Well, that's very spiritual of you. I'm glad there is at least one spiritual person in the room. Everyone else is just greedy, you know,
Right.
except for the, I think there's one. No, he's left. All right. So what's in your mind or your body right now?
I'm sorry?
What's in your mind or your body right now?
That connecting spirituality with money. I was raised Catholic, and like the nuns and the priests didn't have anything of their own.
They don't have any money in the Catholic
They don't have
Church.
any money. Right. Hello. But the nuns and priests, like the good people, all took a vow of poverty.
Excellent. And I think that's
So
what you should do. Because really, if you're going to
Evidently, I
make
have,
it,
the way my life is shown.
what chance you got? You're going straight to hell. Rub this sore spot.
Pardon me? I am.
Even though I'm going
I
straight
was
to
told
hell.
that by so many nuns. Yeah.
Well, see, they recognised it at an early age, and you haven't given up your greed yet. Now's the
And
time.
remember, I'm incorrigible and I'll never amount to anything. That's my senior homeroom nun in front of the whole class.
Well,
told
you
me.
never amount to anything, and if you do, you're going to hell. Rub this sore spot.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So even though I want to be more spiritual,
Even though I want to be more spiritual,
and I'm not,
and I'm not,
and I'm going straight to hell
and I'm going straight to hell. I'm
for all
creating hell
these
now.
greedy desires,
Say it again.
for all these greedy desires,
For all these greedy desires,
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
I'm greedy.
I'm greedy.
I'm going to burn in hell.
I'm going to burn in hell.
There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth,
There will be wailing, weeping, and gnashing of teeth.
and it'll be my teeth,
It'll be my teeth.
but at least they'll have gold in them.
At least I'll have gold.
All right, that's better. Take a deep breath. She already did, if anybody noticed.
What?
What's the feeling right now?
I can't hear you very well.
What's the feeling right now?
I just felt a.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, there's more to do here, all right?
Yeah.
But just, you can do some more from that. On all those previous experiences with the nuns and the mum and dad saying this and all that sort of stuff, that's what's programming your behaviour.
Yeah.
Sure.